Cry.
Party chains, I don't know. That gets us to a weird, dark territory, Papa Smithy. As we move into game number 2 between MVP and the ROX Tigers. Elise, the first ban. Wow, that's quite the respect ban against Peanut.
He's always had a super high Elise win rate. I believe it's now 13-2. Might be 11-2, but regardless, a very high win rate on the Elise, at least in his time with the ROX Tigers. Rai's going to be banned on the red side as well. Will MVP really try to put a pinch on Jungle Pool? They banned both Nidalee and Kindred in game 1 against Peanut.
Yeah.
Do they feel strong enough? I guess they are on the blue side. They have a bit more flexibility, not having to ban the OP champions. So 3 jungle bans would be quite a statement, because it could be 3 jungle bans and a jungle first pick from MVP if they want.
That's true. They could just ban out the Nidalee and the Kindred, take the REX side, but no, they're going to ban the Trundle instead for now.
ROX really vindicated first picking Trundle. Trundle with the QSS changes was always going to be a super relevant pick in Summer, both in the support and the top lane role, and it was the top lane Trundle wailing away on ADD's Fizz that set the tone for what was a comfortable ROX Tigers victory.
Nidalee, okay. So ROX Tigers not wanting to deal with that out of Beyond.
Beyond was, you'd have to think, honestly, the closest analog to Peanut in the Challenger League. Beyond was the jungler everyone really respected. He was the highest performing jungler on average. Bless had his games, but Beyond had his number when the two of them met. So there is definitely still some mystique and respect for Beyond on the side of MVP. He's the one member that I think, next to Max actually, had a really strong season in Challenger for MVP. And we do see plenty of jungle bans. Echo's going to be the first pick. So the big meta jungle available is the REX side, so you have to think it's going to be taken first rotation by ROX.
Yeah, now is that a little bit surprising to you, because they went heavier on the jungle bans, they kind of opened themselves up for a first pick REX side, and then they gave it away for the Echo?
So if you remember, we saw top lane Fizz come through, how could you forget, of course.
Yeah.
And top lane Fizz is kind of considered a poor man's Echo. The poor man's Echo didn't work out for them, so why not go for the rich man's Echo and the man himself and try and set up ADD for lane pressure? Because if you give a winning lane matchup, a champion like Echo over to Smeb, you know, last week accepted, you're going to expect a lot of pain in the top lane.
I suppose. So Caitlyn and REX side taken by the ROX Tigers. And the Lucian pickup would not be too surprising, although, you know, you gotta say, Prey did very well with that Caitlyn and the Lucian lane last game. The Alistar may change things a little bit. Obviously, the Caitlyn needs to be very careful about her positioning when that headbutt pulverize is something to worry about.
Does make me look forward to future patches like patch 6.11 when Lucian's going to be toned down. If teams are already reaching for Caitlyn who's not seeing any changes in this scenario, then who's to say how oppressive Caitlyn might be considered come future patches?
You never know. Good way to counter that, I suppose, though, is to play some more heavier engaged comps, you know, get onto Caitlyn. And they've got the Echo, they've got the Alistar. Looks like they're going to take the Varus away from Cry.
Question here will be, what jungle pick will Beyond go to? Because when that question was raised to Bless and ESC Ever, they went jungle Kha'Zix, which of course we bemoaned from the majority of yesterday's broadcast. So will it just be the Lee Sin, the more obvious meta jungler for MVP? It's a question we do not know the answer to. Speaking of standard picks, this is where Kuro is just sitting in the back going, really? You're going to play Victor? But Victor's very powerful, and Cry takes definitely the champion most synonymous with the other ROX Tigers mid laner in that Victor.
I mean, if you wanted anybody to teach you the tricks of the trade as far as Victor goes, I think you'd want Kuro to be the guy to do it.
Man, they innovated Victor in many ways in terms of competitive play.
Yeah, very true. So the final 2 picks over to MVP now. Looking for, presumably, a jungler and an AD carry.
I'm wondering if we're going to be seeing top lane Tahm Kench as we're waiting to see those lock-ins, as you mentioned, because there's still that flex pick nature to the Tahm Kench. I'm not sure if I like the Tahm Kench versus Echo matchup, but it is an earlier Tahm Kench pick than you might have expected.
Ooh, Ashe Amumu.
Amumu. So Beyond did play Amumu jungle in Challenger. I didn't think he'd reach for it, and they're going for the Ashe even though they've seen a Tahm Kench pick.
So it's the I should say dynamic Q special, Amumu. Wow.
And we might also see our first Rumble of the season. Okay, we went crazy very quickly.
I like it.
But there's so much to talk about. Rumble saw changes. Amumu saw no changes, but that's going to be a really fascinating one to track. The Kha'Zix didn't make us a believer. We were like, any tank jungler would have done it. Amumu does count as a tank jungler. He's just famously weak to invades in the early game, and when you're going to have the lane pressure specifically from the Caitlyn, but to a lesser extent with the flame stability changes, Rumble has that ability to push lane much earlier as well. If you get lane pressure and invade that Amumu, he has a bad time.
The thing is, though, is that, like, do you really want to play a jungler that's vulnerable to invades against Peanut? That seems like a very dangerous prospect, even if he is on a hero like, or a champion rather, like Rek'Sai. I don't know, man. That seems like a pretty big risk to take for the MVP side of things.
I mean, they last rotated Ashe Amumu when Tahm Kench was already on the board for ROX. This is something ESC ever did when they took Ashe into Braum, but definitely an uphill task. Already 1-0 down against ROX Tigers with a comp that has some natural counters available for ROX Tigers.
Yeah, and we know that Gorilla is a very good Tahm Kench player, too. We saw him bring that out at Worlds and play well with it after that as well. And so we'll see. We'll see what he's got.
The Mage top lane matchup. I'm excited to see Echo versus, again, the newly buffed Rumble. I thought we'd see some Rumble play. I'll get into it more when we get into game, though, because I have a feeling we're going to get started soon, and we'll see if ROX Tigers can just close it out 2-0. But MVP, they're going something different.
That's right, MVP trying to tie it up. Let's see if they can do it. Time to get in the game. Bask in the glory of the new intro, I guess, as we go into MVP versus Tigers game number 2. Everyone's set up across the map, but is MVP ready to make this Amumu work?
I was thinking about the last time we saw Amumu in Champions, and I think of a certain Cloud Templar tribute game.
Yeah.
Have to say, with Amumu selected, it's still a Cloud Templar tribute, but no Taric to make it both Korean analysts getting represented on the Rift.
That is true.
Really interesting to track what sort of a Amumu build we see. When he saw some play in solo queue about a year ago, it was the Battle Mage Amumu, you know, with items like Rylai's and going into the AP. So there's an outside chance that it's something like a Runeglaive Amumu, but I have to imagine it's going to be more so the tank build. Cinderhawk did see some buffs recently.
Here we go.
We talked about picking Amumu into a jungle like Peanut. I'm going to start right now.
Goes for the Prey Seeker. Beyond trying to teak this one. Peanut not getting there quite in time to steal away the blue, but that was very, very close.
And Amumu's very much going to want to play the defensive farming game. I guess similar to a champion like Graves in that way, where he's not really interested in doing any invading or any ganking pre-6. Has the potential, but not really the CC duration to take someone down.
You know, and if Peanut decides to put a lot of pressures on the lane, you know, that'll make it tough, I think, a little bit for Beyond, because he'll sort of be drawn out to try to protect his laners, and that'll take away from some of that farm, won't it?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say. At least picking up the Echo meant that they were likely to have lane pressure in top, because you can't pick 3 losing lanes and a farming jungler, then you're basically waving the white flag at pick ban.
Yeah, but then Rumble came in.
And Rumble's a different champion. I wanted to talk about him in Champ Select, didn't have the time then. The reason why I expected Rumble to come through outside of the buffs he received was that you think of champions that work into Trundle, because Trundle was expected to be a staple pick, Trundle and to a lesser extent Fiora with the changes to QSS. Not really any battle stats to steal away from a Rumble, and now he has lane control. So the big buff was that he does full damage to minions with his Flame Spitter. You know, he always used to do half damage, to monsters and minions. The monsters changed, and then we saw some jungle Rumble. The minions changed now, and suddenly Rumble can actually push a lane in rather than just have to trim it and have him inevitably be pushed in. So he has more options in the laning phase, naturally builds into that AP build, and is a carry top that makes some sense. So it's exciting to see Rumble come in, and Smeb is one of the best Rumbles in Champions, especially with Marin no longer around.
Very true. Beyond looking for an opportunity to bandage toss over to Cry here, but doesn't quite find him. So the sad robot wander on.
Another matchup or rock, paper, scissors that's come through is, you know, we saw the Caitlyn early. We thought it was going to be the Lucian. It was never locked in, and we ended up with Ashe. Ashe has always been seen as a champion that can situationally be competitive with Caitlyn because she has that deceptively long range. She's one of the few 600 range AD carries in the game. So 50 shorter than Caitlyn, but not the 550 or the 500 that Lucian battles at. So just Ashe is another one of those champions where if you can get through laning phase even, you're happy. And with that range, might be able to do it against Caitlyn. So we might be seeing more of the Ashe as a response to Caitlyn after the Lucian nerf.
Well, Smeb is doing a pretty solid job of bullying this lane early on, but here comes Beyond. Hard to get over that wall, though. ADD goes in, does a bit of damage to Smeb. Smeb with the Flame Spitter. Here comes Beyond. Got to be careful. Smeb could be in a bit of trouble here. Flashes out. ADD chases. Where's the Rek'Sai? Peanut close by, but not close enough as First Blood goes over to ADD. And Team MVP, Smeb getting a little bit overly bold there.
The big thing that happened for Smeb was a minion died that was going to block away as Peanut's going to look for this.
Flash on Burrow. ADD in a little bit of trouble. Slows him down. Can he get the kill? Getting closer. ADD makes it back to the minion wave with just 30 health remaining. That was a nice try from Peanut, but couldn't make it happen.
And Peanut can't even shove in the minion wave because Smeb doesn't have teleport. Neither does ADD, and the minion wave was even in the middle, so doesn't get anything from that. Blows his flash for no reward, so
yeah.
Not panic stations, but nice pathing from Beyond. He's managed to hit level 5 and be in position for the counter gank in both mid and top, so nice pathing from him. Minion died, which opened up the bandage toss to be able to be hit onto Smeb, which was just enough damage to take him down.
Yep, it's tough. Breaking some damage in onto Maha. The AD carry is trading, really. Gorilla thrown back by Max. Pops at E, gets the health. So he'll be okay for the moment anyway.
And it's a bloodthirsty Amumu, Doa. It's going to be Runeglaive.
I guess so. Well, he's not support, so it doesn't matter as much.
I'm still impressed.
Uh-oh. Oh, boy. Praying Gorilla are really far up, and here comes Beyond. No
Level
flash.
6.
He's got to walk up and land that bandage toss. Going to Prey. There's a nice flash pulverized from Max. Waiting for it. There's a Curse of the Sad Mummy. Gorilla and Prey locked up. Exhaust onto the Tom Kench, and a kill comes in for Maha. And ROX Tigers off to a rough start now.
Beautiful CC laying from Beyond. The pocket pick for Beyond certainly working out a lot better than the pocket pick that we saw from Bless yesterday.
This is a solo queue special, man. Just running around and ganking.
You win with a solo queue special enough times, it becomes a competitive pick. That's what we've learned. As you mentioned the fact there was no flash for Beyond, so Max did all the hard work. Flash headbutt pulverized, led with the ultimate, meant that he could get in melee range to guarantee the bandage toss would hit. Very nice stuff, and Beyond continues to make us a believer of the Amumu.
Yeah, I guess so. 2 assists already, 2 successful ganks. And for the most part, ADD is caught up in CS to Smeb, which is a pretty huge deal. Looks like it's another Cloud Drake starting things off this game.
See MVP pathing around top. Mumu ult is down, but there's plenty of people here.
Smeb, headbutt pulverized onto
CC.
this rumble. CC for days. CC, see ya. Another kill for MVP.
Take a step back, Doa, and look at what could happen in a team fight. If you initiate with the Ashe arrow, there's literally permanent CC layering for upwards of 8 to 10 seconds. That's instant death for anyone. So
everybody on this team has hard CC.
And some have multiple falls. So really, this is basically everyone Merc treads. Even Caitlyn should be considering Merc treads next to a QSS because
maybe
it's just insane duration. And if they ever overlap, you're just basically dead.
Yep. Well, Prey with a tiny little CS lead in the bot lane, but not enough to really speak of. Peanut's been able to outfarm Beyond, but Beyond has made up for it in spades with all the ganks that he's had go well.
I just want a subtitle video of Cloud Templar casting this game. This man loves his Amumu.
I know.
Like no other. Would always try to shoehorn Amumu into jungle medalists and the jungle meta in general with the pros in Korea.
Well, when I played a special event game for a Thanksgiving special a couple years ago, of course, he immediately locks in Amumu. It's a good game, too. We had great synergy.
We're going to have some cheeky words to Beyond off this series, win, lose, or draw.
Probably no draw.
That's fair. Probably not. Remake is possible, though.
This is an EU LCS, man.
Look at this Amumu.
Wow. It's a very sad
Full
robot.
zoom Amumu.
Full zoom Amumu. If that isn't a great band name, I don't know what it is.
Oh, dear. Now ROX, really don't have a lot of lane pressure around the map. Even the Caitlyn lane is forced to hang back now that Gorilla was held down. Held his flash throughout, of course. Had no semblance of getting out. But ROX definitely night and day compared to game 1, where they certainly had a massive tempo advantage, almost purely from keeping the enemy top laner down. This time it's Smeb, who's in the 0-2 hole.
Yeah, Peanut has not really been able to put any pressure on this game, and that's kind of hurt the ROX Tigers.
That feel when you're out-pressured by an Amumu.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when he's the one ganking, why not? Here he comes again.
Ult's back up. ROX still have both summoners in bot, though.
Yep. Beyond coming down, looks like they're going to try to land the Ash Arrow onto Prey as Max comes in, goes after Gorilla. There's a knock-up. Maha just throws the Ash Arrow in on the Gorilla instead. Health used. Curse of the Tad Mummy does not catch Prey. Gorilla low. There's the equalizer as Smeb teleports down. ADD joins the party as well. Prey stunned by that parallel convergence, saved by Gorilla. And here comes Peanut with Cry right behind. MVP on the run now. They may have miscalculated. Cocoon lands on ADD. He's going to get out. Flash. True shot, or rather not true shot. Barrage Ace in the hole does not hit Maha. They do get the kill, however, onto Max. And so that gank turned around, turns into a team fight, and turns into the first positive thing to have happen for ROX Tigers all game. Oh, but here comes Ian, catches Peanut with the Chains of Corruption. Ouch. Well, that could have gone better for both sides.
Yeah, a lot of twists and turns. It looked like the permanent CC duration would be enough, but
Guess so.
all in all, they didn't have enough damage to actually take down Tahm Kench. The flash was actually really on point from Gorilla. Got the first kill. And Cry was by far the first to rotate. It's just that by the time that Ian got there, Peanut had pushed up too far. They had no idea where the enemy Varus was, and Peanut gives up his life to make it a very even trade.
Yeah. You know, a big moment in that fight, too, was when Prey was not hit by the Curse of the Sad Mummy. He was able to get a few more autos in, walk into a better position.
Kench coming in.
Yep, that's right. And it's just Gorilla. Oh, this is the tongue. Peanut was right there, too. If he had gotten the slow, Peanut would have been able to get the Unburrow, and that might have been a kill since this Varus doesn't have a flash, but...
Almost certainly would have, though, because it would have meant almost permanent CC duration. Tahm Kench probably would have got into melee range and be able to eat up the Varus, but the first CC missing meant that it all went awry. Smeb's going for a very aggressive.
Oh, Smeb. Oh, throws the ward, immediately runs for it, turns around, gets knocked up by them, but pulverized. Peanut right there, though. Yeah, trying to turn this gank around. Looks like they may not pursue it. Here comes Cry. Ash Arrow lands on him, though. Wow. That was a long-range Ash Arrow.
Very difficult terrain to fight around if you're MVP. Remember, Rumble Equalizer is always super powerful in these chokes, so they have to be careful. No magic penetration completed just yet, so not quite explosive damage. Another face check potential.
Yep. Throws the ward in. Able to move away. Chains of Corruption doesn't hit. There's a kill. On to Beyond. Maybe. ROX Cry a little bit low, too. Kills on both sides. Trading the jungler for the mid laner. And a little bit of damage on the mid lane turret.
Varus has been able to push up. Now the support will come over as well. No wave clear to speak about between Gorilla and Peanut. So you take a trade if you can basically DPS down this turret as low as possible.
Yeah, I've done a little bit of damage.
Like Cry basically gave up his life to answer Gorilla's sins from getting a bit overeager. The Chaos Storm probably would have taken down the Amumu over time, but instead Gorilla went for the 3-hit into the Devourer and ended up just giving a kill trade all in all.
Yep. 0, 1, and 5 for Beyond on that Amumu already, so part of every single kill. Playing well.
The build is still very much up in the air. Runeglaive, as we mentioned. Tahm Kench coming in.
Yep, here we go. Gorilla showing up, trying to get behind enemy lines, gets a slow onto Max. There's a smite from Peanut. They get the ultimate out of the Alistar, but no kills.
You do notice that the playstyle is very different from Alistar. When he had 70% damage reduction, Gorilla would often pop it when he had 250 health left if there was no Ignite on the enemy team. Now, because there was such a big nerf early game to the damage reduction, you have to pop it to negate all of the damage rather than timing it to bait. The bait potential of that ult has certainly gone down tremendously.
ADD just completely unafraid of this Rumble right now. We saw him dirty farming up in the top lane. I thought maybe the ROX Tigers were going to go for Dragon, but they didn't do it.
The fact that he's been able to itemize so much magic, just soon to be the Spirit Visage, means that Rumble with no magic penetration is not a consideration for him at all. He's 10 CS behind, though, so even though he has pressure in the top lane, it hasn't been translated into any meaningful statistics.
Yep, Ace in the hole takes a little bit of a chunk out of Ian. And they're just going to move back down to bot lane, it looks like, on the minimap.
Mumu Rod of Ages is a possibility. Rylai's, as I mentioned, is a possibility. Full Tank also distinct possibilities. Invested a lot in early game between the Rune Glaive that makes his ganks that much more potent, and also the Hunter's Potion just to sustain through the jungle.
Yeah, seems like it's paid off. Able to make some waves. Waves of tears from Amumu.
All the waves back in League of Legends now. Amumu and Nami both in the meta.
Yeah.
At least on the edges of it. Smeb hasn't shopped in a really long time, so he's in a very significant hole itemization-wise against Rumble. Literally only the component parts of a Haunting Guise and I guess an Abyssal Scepter compared to completed Spirit Visage.
Well, he's going back now.
Peanut gonna come pick up the farm. And wow, Leandri's Rush, okay.
Huh, alright, yeah, so just trying to get a little bit more damage done over time. And it looks like MVP is going to go after this first dragon, and they're going to get it. So a little bit of movement speed bonus for MVP.
Not going to be too much of a consideration. The movement speed, Drake is considered by far the weakest in terms of the stat values it provides. So although you'll appreciate the 15 movement speed, it's certainly not a backbreaker in any way.
Yep.
It's going to be an Ocean Drake next, so sustain a movement speed once again for the first two dragons.
Ooh, ADD. Just being so aggressive on the Smeb now. So what do you think? I mean, if ROX Tigers is able to make this game go long, it still seems like MVP's got a pretty strong team fight, you know?
But there's answers for CC stacking. Things like Mikhail's Crucible, QSS, Summon a Spell Cleanse that Cry is wearing are all answers. So this is very much press R and layer your CC or lose combos. Ian's going to take a lot of damage here.
Yeah, no kidding. Wow, that Chaos Storm does a ton. Flash Q isn't enough. Can't get the Chaos Storm to him. Oh, man. That was so close.
These are the plays you can do now that you can max the Chaos Storm first. The tick rate is so relevant. Tom Kench is going to come visit mid lane. This is just going to be to take down a turret, so still going to be a very successful trade in mid, because with Peanut there and 3 members entrenched in mid lane, this could be the mid lane turret.
Yeah, it'll be the first turret of the game, it looks like. Well, maybe not. Ash Arrow goes through, doesn't hit anybody.
When I saw the Victor changes, specifically to how the ult damage was calculated, I expected there to be heavy emphasis on just instant finishing your perfect hex score. Before we would see 2 upgrades into another item, then finishing the perfect hex score. But the movement speed buff onto perfect hex score with the damage tick rate makes it almost a must-have rush. And it opens up situations like that where Cry was just doing immense damage with specifically the Chaos Storm.
Right. Maha and Max able to get up onto the tier 1 turret bot lane and do some serious damage there.
Everything's always at a cost in competitive League of Legends. You send 3 members mid with something like the Tahm Kench rotation, you will get answering damage inflicted in almost every situation.
Yep.
MVP don't know that they're an award.
Now this game is still very even overall. Despite the kills that have been going MVP's way, they're only about 1,000 gold up. They don't have any turrets. They've only got that 1 Cloud Drake, so it's still pretty good for the ROX Tigers.
I feel like in the late game, ROX's team comp will be slightly more reliable, but definitely not in the landslide. So let's see which team can really capitalize on these objectives, because I think that's the team that will certainly take out the win.
Beyond gets a Rift Sculler, so they'll have the good vision over that part of the map for the moment. Find some wards.
For the benefit of Cloud Templar, they showed that he's maxing Bandage Toss second. You max Tantrum to clear the jungle camps. Bandage Toss actually scales with cooldown reduction really heavily per level, so it's actually commonly been, and it's also your burst ability, so it's very commonly been the second max is.
Whoa, right onto Peanut. He's going to get back into mid lane. None the worse for wear, just a bit of damage. He really wants that Raptor. And I think he got it too, actually, with the smite. Oh, Equalizer comes down. They caught ADD. He doesn't look like he's going to make it out. Meanwhile, Curse of the Sad Mummy comes down from beyond. Only onto Peanut. They force the flash. Ian slows him down. Flash Flame Spitter from Smeb. Can he finish off the Mummy? He can. Meanwhile, Maha gets very low as Gorilla and Prey go all in. Gorilla having to eat up his AD carry to keep him safe.
Really nice rumble mechanics that Smeb has always had. Hit both of the rockets onto the retreating Amumu to confirm the kill. Again. So basically this is, once again, fighting in a choke point against a Rumble. This time, thusly punished by Smeb. Already has Leandris level 2 ultimate. Beyond's re-engage at that point. Remember, he had already hooked onto the inner turret for the first salvo, but the second one was really, really questionable, and the kills went out as a result. We're seeing a replay of the fight in bot. Very hard for Ashe to actually get kills because it's one of those waiting games for the Tahm Kench, just waiting to go for the Devourer the moment that you see the Ashe arrow sent out.
Yeah. Oh, and the Rifttail just can't take it anymore. He's like, I'm done with this game. And it looks like MVP is done with the mid lane turret. So the first turret in the game falls via the minions.
Build hasn't changed at all for a Victor. Rylai's was very much the first core item pickup in the past. It's for different reasons. The old Rylai's was about the chase, specifically with Q, and to some degree when you open up with your death ray. But now it's about the chase with specifically your ultimate, because now your ultimate's super fast and has that slow but relevant, that small but relevant slow. So definitely even more scaling with Rylai's now for Victor on the new patch.
And meanwhile, the items for Prey are looking a little bit different than they did in game one. He went for the Hurricane first rather than the rapid fire cannon. So playing a little bit more for some lane pushing this time, which makes sense.
Now looking around mid, he's already used his tunnel, so definitely doesn't want to enter lane just yet. So you can see 10-second cooldown that ability.
Yep. And Ian wise to back away for the moment.
They know exactly where Varus is going, so this is a fight where ROX will have full information on their enemies.
Yep. And with Beyond just showing himself in lane too, Prey and Gorilla have to back up. The range on that ultimate from Amumu is just absolutely massive. Parallel Convergence trying to zone out Cry. Peanut is right there though as ADD goes in. They're going to turn it right around on him. Chaos Storm dropped. Whoa, Ashe Arrow goes right through the middle of 4 people. Smeb teleports down 2. Will there be a team fight though? Maybe they've caught Max. No, Max goes in for the headbutt pulverize, takes a lot of damage, pops that ultimate. Prey getting some good autos in. ADD trying to get back to him. Looks like he will for the moment.
Here we go.
Prey eating up. Nice curse of the Sad Mummy. There goes the AD carry. ROX Tigers fight without it. They're going to trade 1 for 1. ADD goes way deep with that Echo. That's a double kill now for Peanut. And the ROX Tigers ahead for just the moment anyway in this team fight. They are the ones taking the pressure in this lane.
Big thing for ROX was they were much smarter about using their consistent damage. You got consistent damage top lane and consistent damage mid. Prey got a lot of auto attacks in as well, and Maha was fairly trivialized in the fight. We're going to see the replay. Smeb's ult actually isn't great. It ends up just trying to split the enemy team. I guess you could argue that it stopped Ashe, but Ashe actually wasn't even around, so it's not a relevant thing. This is a 5v4. Beyond hits one of those Amumu bandage tosses where you have to initiate on it. And okay, they get the kill onto the Caitlyn, but remember, it's still a situation where Ashe has done basically nothing throughout the fight, so almost baited by just how picture perfect he was at hitting the bandage toss, and he just didn't have the consistent damage to back up what was a nice clean engage from MVP.
Yeah, I mean, Beyond had a great curse of the Sad Mummy there. But was kind of left a little bit high and dry. Now, Ian is 3-0-0. He's having a good game on that Varus, but the ROX Tigers for the first time now taking a gold lead. And the second Drake is another Cloud Drake, I guess. So not a huge priority for either team.
ROX have definitely not paid much attention to the Dragon in Game 2. They've been happy to just fight around the lanes. Game 1 was played almost exclusively around their top lane advantage. This game been a little bit more even focus from Rek'Sai.
Yeah, very true.
And Beyond was 100% kill participation, still is, but it started to die in these team fights, whereas Peanut had a slow start and definitely has a much better score. He's going for this new school approach, which actually is a bit of an old school solo queue build of the Cinderhulk into Titanic Hydra on the Rek'Sai.
Oh, Smeb dueling with ADD, drops down the equalizer. ADD able to just walk around that. Barely.
Very difficult to kill a Echo in lane if you're Rumble. Has so many dashes, he's just not going to sit on things like your equalizer or even stay in the range for Flame Spitter. No Rylai is going to be built just yet, so ADD just able to happily skip away and go very competitive in the trades.
Yep. Deciding to walk back to lane, too.
Full DPS Amumu. Well, it's burst time for Beyond. He will explode the enemy and then explode himself thusly.
I was going to say, yeah. This is the solo queue special for sure.
Had a Ruby Crystal early, so I'm like, oh, he might build tank. Nope, that was just a Ruby Crystal.
Oh, we might build a Sightstone. Nope.
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 He's going to sweep, and then he's going to engage. That's what he's going to do.
Guess so.
It's kind of... See, the issue there is that now he's not a frontliner. He will be in the front line, but then he'll be deleted from the front line. Echo and Alistair, I guess, to some degree. If this was old Alistair, where from level 6 onwards he could just casually troll in the front line, then things would be okay. But they only really have Echo for front line now, so it's going to be difficult for Ian and Maha.
Whoop, Ash Arrow onto Gorilla.
Oh, that's a Mikhails.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, and actually Prey gets caught. Nice. Save, though, by Gorilla, and that's the trouble they're going to run into. This Tom Kench, really good at delivering characters out of that Amumu ultimate. In the end, MVP still does take a turret, so that's 2-0 for them in the turret count now.
And I tell a lie, it's actually QSS, not Mikhails Crucible. I was surprised he would have a Mikhails so early in the game from support, but he just realized that Gorilla's role is always to peel for prey, and now they don't actually have an Ash Arrow target. If you Ash Arrow the Tom Kench, he's going to QSS. If you Ash Arrow the Caitlyn, it's going to get eaten by the Tom Kench, so no fun there.
That's the funny thing, is that buying a QSS on Gorilla is essentially buying a QSS on Prey too, because it lets him get out of that CC and then take Prey out of it too.
Magic Resist also going to be a relevant stat. It's not quite as flexible. I feel like Mikhails is still desperately needed because it's not the one CC, right? It's so much pick CC, of course, on the side of MVP.
And MVP has all outer turrets down now. In response to the 0 from the ROX Tigers, maybe they can get this mid lane one.
It takes a lot of DPS, doesn't have much sustain, so...
Yeah, not a lot of map pressure for ROX Tigers right now.
Seems like Echo will still have a significant advantage of map pressure.
Teleport coming in, Prey in a bit of an awkward spot. Gorilla's going to save one of his members here, and now Peanut delivered to the back line. Equalizer forces MVP back just a little bit. As Smeb teleports down, will MVP re-engage? It looks like they will as the Ash Arrow connects with Smeb. Headbutt Pulverize coming in for Max. Another save from Gorilla, but that means Prey caught by the Curse of the Sad Mummy, and a huge teamfight win for MVP. ADD goes in for some more damage, but it's a double kill now for Ian on that Varus. Make it a triple, make it a quadra kill for this Varus. It is the day of Varus, Papa Smithy.
That was so well coordinated by MVP. How many different disengages, QSSs, Tom Kench abilities they have to factor in to find a way to lay a CC. I thought there'd be enough items to counter what is very much a CC-focused team. But just watch, it's interesting. So much better ultimate from Smeb does split the team. Everyone has to back away. Gorilla's super low, so suddenly an Ash Arrow on anyone's actually pretty good because Gorilla's going to have to walk up and take a lot of damage. He flashes out and you think, okay, it's over now. But the engage from beyond, specifically onto Caitlyn, takes her down early. They keep going. There's going to be a nice little bandage toss to end the fight with a true ace. On our screens, we can see that they take Baron off the back of this as well. MVP are practiced at playing around this Amumu. They did it in Challenger. Clearly, they've been doing it in scrims as well, because that was great to watch.
Yeah, and I gotta say, it's kind of looking like the ROX Tigers are not prepared to handle this Amumu.
I mean, Rek'Sai tried that early invade, couldn't get the buff steal, and from there has been a passenger as Amumu has entered lanes, ultimate or not, and made so much of an impact. He still has 100% kill participation as an Amumu.
Yeah, Maha takes some damage. Well, takes a lot of damage. He's dead. Ace and Lol from Prey helps out, and they will claim that second Cloud Drake. So it's going to help the movement speed a little bit for the ROX Tigers. So they do answer right back, but they're starting to just lose so many turrets now. That's kind of the big concern.
There's some items they desperately need because we've seen Selfish stats and actually Ravenous Hydra. Okay, I really don't like the Ravenous Hydra from Peanut. Titanic makes some degree of sense. He's going Ravenous Hydra from the jungle. Not really sure what to make of that, but the item I'm talking about is that because you saw QSS from Gorilla, there's no Aegis. The Aegis is super late by competitive standards, still a very relevant item. You see there's already a locket completed for the Alistair. Gonna see the Tom Kench teleport in, but they don't really have the items to win team fights just yet. Because it's an AP Amumu, this damage can be outscaled, but things like Magic Resist and specifically the Aegis are required for that to start happening for the ROX Tigers.
Yeah, for sure. If they can drag this game out long enough, then I still certainly come back.
And that's the thing, is that Amumu will be, with enough Magic Resist, Amumu won't be tanky enough to sit around to do sustained damage in the front line, and the burst will be, you know, the AP ratios aren't there. Once upon a time, he had massive AP ratios on both his ultimate and his Q. That was changed a couple of years ago now. And so still does surprising damage, especially because how practiced are you at playing against a Mumu at the highest level? But it is still going to be outscaled when you go this AP build.
Yep. Meanwhile, Smeb is going to start to do just ridiculous amounts of damage, if he hasn't already.
Void Staff next will let him hit the next level.
Whoa! Ash Arrow does not hit Cry, ooh, but the Q from Varus does. And that 7-0-1 Varus is doing a ton of damage. There goes the mid lane tier 2. So it's 4 turrets to 0, or to 1 rather now.
You pointed out, though, you talked about the lack of map pressure. It's continued. Every lane that the camera takes us to is being heavily pushed in. Caitlyn tried to just freeze and farm in bot lane in a game where they don't have the map pressure, ROX Tigers, to actually do that.
Yeah. MVP got plenty of damage done to that tier 2 turret. They don't need to really push it any farther than that. And I like this. I like that we're not seeing them kind of overcommit to these fights, despite the fact that they've been playing well this game. They're not letting it make them make bad decisions.
Well, it's not a poke comp. MVP with the Caitlyn looked much better against KT, and with the same sort of turret pressure this game, it looked a lot more polished. So maybe this is just a team that right now has only perfected or refined a single strategy, but playing around turrets seems to be the name of a winning or at least advantageous game for MVP.
Yep. Now it's at the point, as we see, it's going to be an Infernal Drake next. Now it's at the point where ROX Tigers, I think, are going to have a tough time coming back. They really are going to need to, you think, take it to the super late game and just kind of outlast MVP. If they can hold off, the MVP is the more rookie team. They have a better chance of making a big mistake in the late game that the ROX Tigers can capitalize on. And it feels like that's what they kind of need to count on now.
Just desperate for that Aegis. The Observer was showing us the Ryle has been completed. We're seeing 470-ish damage already just from the Amumu ultimate, let alone the Q that has a very high base value as well. So instant burst damage from beyond is going to be relevant until they can outscale the burst, which again will happen eventually. Eventually is always a relative term. If you get a massive lead, eventually it can come very early when it comes to sudden break-evens in items and levels, but that eventually is magic resistant. Gorilla desperately needs a Locket.
Yeah, he does. Ouch.
Locket doesn't do much against Varus though, so
nope.
Damage is certainly hurting. Infernal Drake will be happy times for MVP.
Yeah. Ian's Varus has looked really good too. Ooh, Peanut, that's a bold move to be so far up. A little bit dangerous. Just wants to try to clear as much as he possibly can and save that turret. And he will hold him off long enough for Smeb to show up.
Surprised actually that he was able to play so aggressively. Now he has a build for wave clear with the Ravenous Hydra. He doesn't have the tank stats behind it to, you would have to have assumed on paper, push up so aggressively. But no bait is taken by MVP and able to clear out that wave in the bot lane.
Pretty much. So a minute 30 until that Infernal Drake is up. Baron, the next one, coming up in about a minute 40.
Talked a lot about the Aegis. That part is complete. Not quite the Locket yet.
Uh-oh. Bandage toss onto Peanut, forcing him to run away.
You are able to buffer the tunneling from the Varus, so even if the bandage toss hits, you do still complete the tunnel. So wasn't in imminent danger there.
I suppose.
This is still so finely poised. It's still a game. Wow, okay. Well,
time to
ROX
take a ride. Here comes Tom Kench. And there goes Tom Kench. Teleport, though. Going to bring ADD there. He's going to jump onto Gorilla right away. Chains of Corruption lands. He's going to get out of it with that QSS. Oh, but the Q from Ian. He didn't even have time to use his E. Oh, nice Asher on the break.
Go.
Great Curse of the Sad Mummy. The Wombo combo comes in for MVP. Smeb trying to turn it around with the damage from this Rumble, but it's not quite enough. MVP still winning the team fight. Too low health, though, to maybe pressure this turret a whole lot. They really want to, though.
And still, we haven't seen the effect of a Locket, because guess what? Tom Kench died too fast. The magic resists were gone. The Locket wasn't relevant. And really nice re-engage once again from beyond. He's not going to draw an Amumu ban, but now when you play against MVP, at the back of your head, you're always going to have to worry about the Amumu pick coming out. And it's just, there's answers to Amumu. They're very clear.
I think you just ban him next game.
I don't think you ban him, Doa, but...
You sure?
You just need data points. Gorilla's problem here is that Gorilla has the Locket, he just dies.
Aww.
Doesn't pop the gray health and dies. And then Beyond's like, oh, there's 3 people grouped.
Yeah.
Oh my, I didn't even notice the Ash Arrow came on to Prey first. So
yeah, that's what set it up.
The most obvious of initiations. from the Amumu, but I just feel like, do you remember when Evelyn popped in the meta for a couple of weeks and then people remembered how to play against Evelyn?
Yeah.
Amumu is very straightforward to play against. There's early ways to deal with the Amumu. You invade that jungle, which Peanut kind of made one cursory effort to do so, but never really returned to. And you don't group in team fights. There's ways to deal with it. It's just, you don't have data points. You don't see Amumu in solo queue. You don't see Amumu in scrims. And Amumu right now, it's not a cheese pick, but the effect it's had on this game is really disproportionate to the power level of Amumu.
Now, one thing that did happen during that replay was that the Tigers were able to take the Infernal Drake, so that's a nice damage buff, and that may be enough to, make them relevant, because as far as gold goes, at this point in the game, they're really not that far behind, so that Drake pickup was actually big for the ROX Tigers.
The lack of frontline, though, that's my issue, is that, okay, Rumble's never really a frontliner, but there's no Abyssal Scepter, it's just Zhonya's, so his ability to be in the frontline is to overheat than Zhonya's. Ravenous Hydra means even less health and not much magic resist for Peanut, so he's not much of a frontliner. Baron's going down quickly.
That being taken by MVP, here comes the ROX Tigers. They want to try to stop this one. Ash Arrow does not hit. Looks like Baron does go over to MVP in the end anyway. ADD engaging into the back line. Cry walking away very slowly. And it looks like MVP intelligently just happy to walk away with that Baron buff.
Don't get any bonus kills, though, but they get the Baron buff, which is already massive.
Good enough, yeah. They can put some pressure on now with this.
But again, because it's a frontline DPS Rek'Sai, she's not really going to be at the front. Victor doesn't have any magic resist. Prey doesn't have any magic resist. There's magic resist on Tahm Kench, but Tahm Kench is basically one of the obvious persons to take poke damage, so no one can frontline and deal with this Amumu, who's still shredding the team later than you would think. 36 minutes in, you would think the Amumu would start to be outscaled, but just given the approach and the draft from ROX, Amumu's doing still so much work.
Yeah. Very true. Now the question is, can MVP actually push in and take another inhibitor with this? Had the top one down for a little while.
Ghost Flash 901 Varus says probably, though. This guy is a raid boss. Ghost saw so many buffs and is so powerful on this Varus. Now at all points in the game, Ghost is stronger, up to 45% extra move speed now at level 18. So basically moves at the speed of light. Elemental Drakes or no. And no one's going to be able to hit him with damage.
Yeah, probably. Ash Arrow comes through, lands onto Peanut. And that's going to be an engage. Wow, they're going way in onto this. Backing off now. That may have been an overcommittal here from MVP. His Cry lays down a lot of damage. Equalizer doing work as well. This push is stopped cold. ROX Tigers pursuing for the moment. Ian is there, though, and this Varus can add on so much damage that that's a bit dangerous to chase. Gorilla nearly taken out there.
Worth knowing that all the engaged CC was used in a disengaged capacity, so ROX will find CS as a result. It's the smallest of rewards, but they'll take anything they can get, given the fact that the last couple of fights in a row have been purely for MVP.
Death cap for this jungle Amumu. He is going as pure damage as you can possibly go with this.
Again, please, someone on Twitter, someone out there, translate what Cloud Templar feels about the death cap, because he was not an aggressive jungle itemization kind of person. He built tank on his Rammus, built tank on his Amumu.
Tank on the Skarner.
Beyond going full AP stacking. The ultimate's hitting for a casual 800 damage.
Oh, yes.
And the bandage toss is hitting for plenty too.
Probably. Yeah, it's a bit awkward.
It's awesome. That's what it is.
Awkward, awesome. Two sides of the same coin sometimes. As MVP goes for this mid lane turret. Peanut already taking quite a bit of damage. Big engage from ADD just to zone ROX Tigers, and they're going to get this inhibitor. This is going to be the mid inhibitor, and nothing ROX can do about it.
Tahm Kench Devour does keep Rumble from dying, but no more than that. They get the objective, they get out, they're going to now push around the bottom side.
And they've got all the minion waves going too, so I think we might be seeing a game 3 here.
It's great to see this from MVP. They're doing something different, they're doing something that's actually something they've done before in terms of the Amumu pick, and they're making it work in a way that other teams with edge meta picks haven't done.
I mean, it's impressive the way they've made this really be effective.
Where's that Amumu ult?
Up, there it is, catching two, Gorilla one of them. Couple kills coming in for MVP. Looks like they're ready to end this game as a double kill comes in for Ian now. Prey trying to get back to base, but there's a snipe from the Varus. Another triple kill. Ian has just been destroying people all game long, and MVP ready to destroy the Nexus. This Amumu pick was beautiful, and the combination of that and the Ash Arrow and the Varus means that MVP will force a Game 3. GG.
You know what the happiest thing is, Doa? This isn't what a ROX Tigers doing. This isn't a Smeb mechanical misplay.
No.
This is MVP outplaying their opponents, which are the ROX Tigers. Again, World Championship runners-up, LCK Spring runners-up, MVP. They brought something homebrew. They tried something different. In their first series, it was Lucian Twitch. It didn't work. This time we see them try something new, or I guess something very old, anew, and man, it was damn effective.
Yeah, I would say so. No smiles in the ROX Tigers booth now, as MVP has shut them down pretty hard here in game number 2. And this is worrisome if you're